Hello to my RNA number one. The way I'm going to do all of these are going to be notes that I'm going to talk about from the different readings. I find that the video is a little bit better for me. It allows me to kind of talk through a few things. So you're going to see kind of a playlist that's set up with this, and I'm going to talk through the different readings. This week's readings kind of hit me just perfect as they could. They were all related around kind of how COVID has impacted school and the stretch between like mental care, self care, how professors are handling things, how you should plan classes, how students are feeling, and it kind of just mixes it all in. So I have like a list of points that I'm going to cover here. So if I look down at it, that's what I'm doing. But I want to start with the Davidson article. And this one kind of was interesting to me because it said plan for the craziness happening and realize there's a lot of uncertainty. And as I have been through this personally, I have seen this firsthand. And I have to say that it's also funny because some of the exact things that were mentioned here have been brought up in the little study that I've done to kind of prep for my dissertation. So, as I had interviewed a lot of people who were in the housing and residence life side of thing, the word uncertainty just kept popping up. And I get life doesn't go away when you're in a classroom. I have been planning for classes this semester, and it's kind of interesting because I am not only teaching right now. I am teaching, I am taking classes myself, and going through all this together. So a lot of these articles that mention putting yourself in the student's shoes, I'm in their shoes right now. I get it. I'm one of those strange ones that kind of sees everything that's going on at the moment in the perspective of this pandemic and how it impacts the members of both sides. So when I was planning things for this semester, it's very difficult. How do you plan for a semester that you don't know if, number one, I'm going to get sick, number one, if somebody in my family is going to get sick or a close contact is going to get sick? How do you plan for a class where I have 36 students and can only have 12 at a time in a classroom? How do you plan for a class that's supposed to be all in person and you're basically getting to see one set of students once a week? How do you know what they're going through in terms of housing securities, food insecurities, what they're experiencing, everything that I'm going through? I don't know if tomorrow all the plans I made for my classes are going to have to be switched and turned upside down so that I'm able to go through, or so because of something that pops up that I'm unaware of. I don't know what the expectations are because I don't think anybody knows what the expectations are on either side of right now. One thing I did find interesting in this article was it said a little joy is a great learning outcome. And I can remember this last semester when I started realizing a lot of my students in one of my classes were feeling a little bit strung out. Probably the best way to describe that. And I was too. I mean, don't get me wrong, doing everything simultaneously, every time the students get tired, I feel for them because I'm doing that too, plus trying to teach. So it's this weird sense there. So I gave them a day off. I said, hey, it's beautiful, sunshiny outside. You're supposed to come to class today. You know what? Go take the day and just enjoy the sunshine. So I was actually reading through all of my course reviews or instructor evaluations at the end of the semester and saw that like 5 students mentioned that was the most impactful thing they had from any professor last semester. And I was just doing it because I understood as a student that I wanted it. And then I didn't realize at that fact that they would have been the same way because they are also students. So I tried to, this semester, purposely plan little bits of joy into the classes. Maybe an assignment that's a little shorter than normal, something that's fun rather than just always being straight on topic. Maybe it's another day off that we have scheduled in. I've tried to plant these into the class because I know that it will make a difference because it made a difference to me as I was going through classes. I've already mentioned I see this from both sides. So the biggest thing, like I know I planned a syllabus out for, see, I'm teaching 7 different classes, 6 different classes this semester. And usually I have a calendar of how everything's going to be going. This semester, it's a lot more condensed and it's a lot more vague because I don't want to set myself up to having to replan everything. And I think that as a student, I'm seeing that as well because I don't want to assume that what is on the paper is exactly what's going to happen, even though it most likely is, but I get that it could change. Just kind of a little bit crazy. And I do also like how they mentioned human first, professor second. Um, I think everybody's a human first, student second, and the people who are teaching can be both. It's just, I really felt that article. Uh, then you really want to talk about what I felt. The McClure article about burnout. I am currently 100 million% in the middle of what would be burnout. Um, to give you a little perspective, um, March, when all of this happened, last March, I was working in housing and residence life full time, so 40 hours a week. I was teaching 4 different classes as an adjunct, and I ended up picking up a 5th class from the professor who was kicked out of class for calling the cops on people. So I got put into that class in the middle of a class, having to restart from scratch because I didn't have any of their materials. So I built that class in like early March, late February, early March. We had a kid in January, so January 17th, bring a newborn into the situation. So I had all that stuff going until March. I can still remember it was like March 24th, 23rd. I stopped by Guardian and Healing House in Muncie, grabbed gift cards because I figured they were closing soon, and then I didn't go back up to Muncie until like July. It was very strange. So I had to do my whole job that was getting switched in housing. Think of how crazy that is. We just sent everybody home, and we're an auxiliary. We have to refund everybody money. It was like $3-4 million we were going to lose off of our budget. Imagine the stress of what your job might be, of what you may keep or lose at that point in time, because if there's no students in residence hall, why in the hell would you keep me around? So that's going through my head. I have 5 classes I now have to shift from an online or an in-person environment to an online environment almost instantaneously. So we got that going on, and I'm in 2 classes. So I'm taking 2 classes that are going through this same flip at the moment, and this is all happening at one time when we're barely getting like 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night with the kid, plus all the concern of the pandemic and getting everybody sick. Because my parents, my mom's had a stroke in the past, so she would be pre-existing condition. The in-laws who have been, both of these sets of people have been very helpful with the kid. Danny, my in-laws have, one of my mother-in-law has rheumatoid arthritis, so immunocompromised. She's on immunosuppressants. Talk about crazy crap going on. It's between all of that, and I have to figure out how to do everything that I'm doing, plus work from home with a kid that has never been in there before, and I don't have an office. Little insane, and I may not have a job. So I started seeing signs of this burnout happening late summer. It was okay right at the start because I was able to get through it, and then kind of hit that summer portion and started to get a little bit down because I took 2 additional classes over the summer. So then I kind of was still doing everything, and at that point in time, I had taken a new job as an adjunct or a full-time or a contract faculty member in the marketing department. Why did I do it? Well, number one, Dr. Latt's class made me go through the process of planning for that, but also it was a more secure option at that time. Housing was an unknown. I didn't even know if we were bringing students back to the residence halls. Why would I bank my livelihood of keeping my kid fed and the house over my head on the fact that we may or may not have kids back in the school or in the residence halls? So I took a new job. So I have to finish everything else crazy as we're trying to figure the uncertainty of how this next semester is going to start in my housing role. And I'm communications, so everything that gets pushed out has to go through me in some capacity. I'm usually one who gets a lot of time off in the summer. I spend a lot of time at the golf course, a lot of time with my family, take a few vacations. I keep a lot of those 5 weeks sitting back that I have. Well, I worked all the way up until the first day of classes, or before the week of classes. And then I had to prep everything at the same time in my off time to keep up with prepping for the start of the semester. So basically doing 2 jobs at once, finished up the classes, and prepping for my everything else that I'm doing over the fall semester. So the fall semester starts. I think I have 7 or 8 classes that I'm teaching as an adjunct or a contract faculty member because some of them they're short-staffed. And for me, the logic was I can make additional money and overload, so I'm going to do that because that helps fund the kid at home and the family. And I should have more time because I'm not doing 2 jobs. Well, that's fine and dandy until I have to take classes on top of it and do the teaching and still have to adapt to having a young one at home. Plus, COVID's still going on. You thought it'd be all done. No. I now have to take the classes I taught originally, move them from in person to kind of a mix, be ready to move them back out. I got 2 COVID scares in the middle of that. One particularly around Thanksgiving that kept me out for 18 days in the house as I quarantined because the wife actually did get COVID. So that was going on all at the end of the semester when everything is due and getting ready, and I was trapped inside the house during Thanksgiving, or during that period, without even being able to leave for Thanksgiving. The room I'm in actually became a quarantine lounge, so we could bring people over. There's some glass doors that go into our house, and the only contact I had during those days were through those windows. So that was all going on as I was trying to teach. So talk about a little crazy there. And we moved from in-person to online after Thanksgiving. So basically from the middle of November to January, I didn't have any real structure of work. So I was prepping for comp exams at that point in time, which is fine and dandy, but you have to prep for all of that while taking all the classes, while doing everything else. It kind of got behind. I was doing some other stuff on the side as well, and I finally had to say, no, I'm done. I can't do this, I can't do that. I just don't have enough time in the day. So as this semester started, I've taken on 2 new classes I haven't taught before, so I've had to reimagine those from a syllabus and not really understanding what I'm teaching at the moment. So I had to figure out what I was doing there. The classes I had in person went online. I'm taking 2 classes this semester, doing my comprehensive exams, I've been working on my dissertation proposal, and still doing it with a 1-year-old around and a makeshift home office in the toy room. So, all of that long story to say, I cannot wait for the summer. I am currently, May 7th is my date, and I have been talking with the wife on what I'm going to be doing because I'm experiencing burnout and I have to have those recharge periods. And I'm very glad I don't have classes over the summer, and I'm glad that I'll be 1 year into the teaching, so I have a pretty good idea of what's going on, but I am looking forward to not having anything to do. And I know that's not the best approach to it, but in reality, I don't think there is. I think that nomenclature is wrong because that is the best approach. I need some time off. And that time can help me recharge and be able to focus as I finish up the doctoral program and really get kind of used to the whole teaching side of things. The Kaplan Bricker article was about housing insecurities and what do we owe to the students. I will say that when I was working in housing, I got to see all the emails because I had to manage an email account of people that were facing housing insecurity or they couldn't leave because they didn't have a place to go, they didn't have access to internet, couldn't complete classes. I've read them all. It's very depressing, and I can understand probably more than I want to understand, but I need to understand it, what these students are going through. I know what I have personally gone through, so I find myself way more lenient and understanding because I get it. I figure that's something that I can get, but at the same time, I don't understand it because I can't assume everyone's like me, so I don't even know what to expect. How can I expect of somebody? I'm having all these problems that are going on in my life, all the stressors, everything that's happening. I get that you can't be focused 100% on the classwork, but how do I distinguish when you're just being not there or you're really going through something? It's very difficult from a professor side, which I think, and from a university side, I can get it. Hope Center, a few things I noticed on that one. Megan, I said I read the emails. I've seen also a lot of students who've lost their jobs. I get an email, they've lost their job, they've gotten sick, they can't work. It's crazy. I get the time of what's going through. Flexibility is difficult from the professor side of things, but I want to be as flexible as I can. How do I get you the same learning experience or a comparable learning experience without pushing you to the craziness, but at the same time making sure you're actually learning something? It's a hard line to walk. I'm not sure. How can I help you? How can I do it? I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out, but I may make mistakes along the way and kind of do stuff. It also mentioned parental needs, childcare. I can't imagine. Oh wait, yes I can. Of having a kid while doing all this stuff. my schedule has been flipped upon its head. When I was taking my classes and had extra time sitting around to do everything, it was basically I could work in housing. I had about 15 hours of work each week that I was doing. I had about 25 hours of work that I could spend doing other things. I'm at home now. My schedule is we stay up, or I wake up about 7 o'clock. The kiddo wakes up. I am his plaything from 7 to about 9 when I get his mom up. Then I take my shower. Then I go from about 10 to 2. I may be going up to campus, maybe sitting in front of this computer. I'm doing writing. I'm doing reading. I'm trying to record lectures. I'm trying to prep class periods. I have a board here with probably 100 different lectures I need to record in terms of things that I would like to do to make my class a better experience. Then the kid goes to sleep. So I'm making lunch for the wife. I kind of help out around where I can. I'm responsible for the kitchen, so dishes are usually at that time. And then the kiddo wakes up, 2 o'clock. My day's pretty much done. I've got him from 2 to 6 with the wife, kind of passing back and forth. And then we start prepping for bed. And by the time 8 o'clock comes around, I'm exhausted. I used to be able to do things early morning, late at night. Can't do any of that now. I've got to be more productive in 3 hours than I ever have been in order just to stay on top of half the stuff I used to do. So I get it. I get how it can make a difference. And I want to be understanding of that as I'm a professor because, it's my job. But I don't want to go over the top because I'm able to manage through it, but I'm not a normal person. So there's a lot of things at play in my mind around that. The C2I article, The Crisis Breeds Innovation, was kind of the thing that set that apart for me. I said amen. It was wonderful. It was really some cool data that I have found interesting, specifically around what I'm doing for my dissertation. So it's really kind of fun there. We're getting there, I promise. And the Stewart article, the last one. My econ mind like this. So I've got that business background. When I read capitalism, I'm like, oh, cool, okay. But I felt some of the comments that were mentioned in the start of this article more than I ever have. And I noticed myself teaching my students about these kinds of things. But once I've had Danny, I've now really shifted how I view everything I do. So, one of my most common arguments with my father-in-law. So, when I took the teaching job for 2 reasons. Number 1, job security. I thought it was the better option of the direction I was going. Number 2, there's more free time, or at least the illusion of free time. I took it so that I could go up to campus maybe 3 days a week, prep from home for the other ones, have the summer and the winter breaks off, spring break off, which they just magically disappeared at that point in time. The idea was there. Work less. Not saying I wanted to be lazy, but I don't think that's a problem. The article was talking about working less, leisuring more. That should be my goal. I get it. I would rather sit around and play with my kid or go to the golf course or do something around the house, hang out with my wife, chill, read something I actually enjoy than having to work. The less I can work for, the more revenue. Kind of it's an inverse relationship there, but I like it. So my goal is to leisure as much as I possibly can. My father-in-law, he likes to work. His job, he goes and takes people out to lunch all the time. It's not a hard job. But you cannot get him to take a day off. It doesn't. He goes, oh, I didn't do a day off. Hey, manufacturing never stops. And we go, yeah, but if you took a day off, would everything close? Well, no, but we go through this argument all the time. But what I have found is that me taking the job that had more time has actually, due to COVID, taken up even more of my time than I have ever originally imagined. It's backwards. I was doing so well teaching and being able to work in my full-time job and teach that I was getting everything done. With COVID, it shifted everything upside down, so all of a sudden, everything that I used to have in structure is no longer here. So it's even more work than possible, and as a contingent faculty member, I'm getting more of the work, which related to the article as well, than other people. I used to think, 4 classes, that's nothing, because I was teaching 4 to 5 as an adjunct. If I can do 4 to 5 classes, that would be literally 40 hours out of my work week that'd be gone. It was a no-brainer. Now, I'm teaching 6, 7 classes, and I'm working my butt off to keep up with everything. it's my fault. I did it, but it's also COVID's fault because my structure's gone. But it's also my kid's fault too. But I can't blame him because he's cute. It's just a combination of everything and how it's piled together, and it's not fair, but it is fair. But the critique of how everything was mentioned in that article, I understand it. I felt it. And then the work from home piece. I have always thought I am a work from homer. I had always wanted to do that. I always wondered why I had to go into the office if I could do things at home. I always thought it'd be the best. I could work for a few hours in the morning, go do something, come back, work a few hours, be able to get it all done. If you work from home, you feel like you're always on. So that's why I've had to designate an office space in the house so that when I'm in here, I work. And when I'm not, I don't. I have to figure out how to turn that off because the things that I said I would do, of taking a 2-hour break to go swim at the Y or go walk 9 holes of golf, because I live across from a golf course, or spend time with my kid or whatever, I wasn't doing because I was so worried about getting everything done, and I was constantly doing it because my time felt like I don't have enough of it. It's crazy. Like, I love working from home, but I do not love working from home during COVID-19. I want to go back to normal because normal, I really liked it. But then there's also some of that I have to prep myself and figure out, like, it was hard for me today to go swim. I'm doing this video after I went swimming, but I've been working since 9 o'clock. I was working straight. I took like one break to make some lunch, but I was purposefully working all day long. I worked more than when I was doing things at my office. It's not what I want to do. I want to leisure more, not work more. So it's just kind of been strange. Sorry for the long tangent there on everything, but those are my reflection notes for the stuff this week, and I hope that you enjoyed them.